All right. When was the last time you used a food delivery service like Uber Eats or DoorDash or Skip the Dishes? Have you ever wondered about just how much the driver is making when they work for one of those services? Last week, we got a text message from one Montrealer, one of you, in fact, and they reached out because they wanted to speak out. They drive for Uber Eats, and they feel the compensation, the treatment just isn't up to par. Adam joins us now on the line, and he's been driving for Uber Eats for about a month. Adam, thanks for reaching out to us, and thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So why'd you end up driving for Uber Eats? Tell me about what led you to say, hey, I'm going to try doing this.
Just, needed some extra income. Life's getting expensive these days, so I figured try some Uber Eats. You can do it on your own schedule and whatnot, so I thought it would be good, but in reality, ain't the best.
What's the process like? If you want to drive for Uber Eats, was it difficult, easy? How would you describe that?
Well, for me, it was pretty easy. I had registered my account like 5 years ago, but I only started doing it about a month. So you just basically have to send in your driver's license, registration for your car, and that's pretty much it.
Does Uber give you any promises, guarantees, ideas? I don't know which way to phrase it correctly about how much you'll make when you drive for them?
No. So, I sent some examples to your producer showing her what we kind of make. Mm-hmm. So, for an instance, for last week, I was online for 21 and a half hours, and they give you a base pay. So for that much money, my base pay for that many hours, the base pay was $14.09.
Wait, did you just say $14.09 for 21 hours?
Yes.
Okay, so 75 cents, I think, if my math's right. 75 cents an hour, not so much, right?
Yeah.
Do you make it up on the tip front? Because that to me doesn't make any sense why anyone would do that for a living.
No, in some of the examples that I sent over, so they do have peak times, like the hours from 11 to 1, and then maybe from 5 to about 8.
Yeah.
But generally, the fares are not very great. So basically, a driver will get an alert on their phone, on their app, saying that there's a delivery, and you have the option to take that delivery or to not take that delivery. Uh-huh. So just for an example, one of an order was they estimate time. They give you an estimate time, like how long it will take you. So for one was 15 minutes. The distance was 2.7 kilometers from the restaurant to the destination where the food would go. And it was $3, and it was including estimated tip.
Wow.
So, and then estimated tip, what we find is, I'm a part of a Facebook group for Uber drivers on Facebook. It's Uber Eats Drivers of Canada. Yeah. And we see this problem everywhere. Sometimes we call them tip baiters. So people will say they're going to tip, but once they get the order, they take their tip back. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of that. So there's times where you can get a far, I've had to do orders that went from downtown to St. Leonard, and they take the tip back. So we generally hoping are for good tips. And a lot of the time people do tip $1 or $3, and I get it. We get it. People are going through tough times, but they always say, well, they're making money on their fares. Now, some of us feel like Canada does have a minimum wage law, so we should feel that any employer should be honored to pay employees minimum wages, and we're also taxed. We have to pay taxes. We have to declare this income.
Yeah.
So, there's not a lot of money to make, and then also gas. Gas is a big part of our expenses, maintenance on cars, and sometimes if another thing is that sometimes we can pick up 2 deliveries. So sometimes Uber doesn't really tell you that there are 2 deliveries from 2 different restaurants going into the same area. So sometimes you got to go pick up another order. It's not always from the same restaurant. So you got to look for parking. If you can't find parking, sometimes you're double parking. Then you also had instances where the police didn't like where I parked because I parked close to a corner, and I'm literally going in and out of a restaurant, So I've had a discussion with the police. Well, it's not an excuse because you're Uber, and, so there's also risk of getting tickets. And, for a company like Uber that's making millions of dollars, it's kind of unfair. And customer service with Uber is not very great as well. They're not in Canada. They're in another country. They don't speak well English, so they have a hard time understanding where we're coming from.
And this is for you. This is for you as a driver, not as a customer who's ordering food. You're talking about the customer service employee Uber relationship, is what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And also, one thing is that we can be terminated. And basically, if an order is damaged more than once, you risk at being terminated. Like I had an order, I was doing a delivery. A kid ran out into the middle of the street. I had to slam on my brakes. The drinks tipped over, and I notified Uber before I got to the destination that the drinks were damaged. They're like, oh, okay, no problem. But if it happens again, your account will be deactivated. So
listen, Adam, with all that, right, that you've recounted, I haven't heard a good thing out of your mouth, right, about this experience. We're with Adam. He drives for Uber Eats, and he's telling us about his experience over the last month. Are you going to stop doing it, right? Because, I mean, there's your in my mind, the reaction to everything you've just said is, to heck with this, I'm not going to do it anymore.
Well, I'm doing it for now because I am going through some personal things. So I'm kind of relying on this job right now until other things pan out for me. So I was relying on this job maybe more than other people. But the government, I know you have a lot of listeners, and I hope someone's listening from the government, and they should be looking into companies that are doing this kind of practice. I'm not sure how DoorDash works or Skip the Dishes work, but I'm assuming it's sort of the same way.
Well, Adam, I was going to ask you about that, right? Because I know some drivers, they drive for multiple services as a way to sort of even out the playing field when it comes to the offers that you're getting. Have you thought about, if you're going to do this, you're going to stick with it, maybe adding DoorDash or Skip the Dishes to the...
I have tried to do DoorDash, but I go to sign up and they say that there's too many drivers in my area code.
Okay.
And another thing is that when we decline, I can decline 3 or 4 orders in a row because there are either $3 or $4 going for long distances. And I find that once you decline these 3 or 4 orders, I won't get another order for an hour. Last night, I declined 3 orders in a row. I didn't see another order for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting I'm in the NDG area and Côte St. Luc area, and I sit on Sherbrooke in front of restaurants that mainly do Uber, and I can be sitting in front of a restaurant and I see other drivers coming in, going into the restaurant. So I know they're getting orders over me, and I'm right outside the restaurant. So we are getting kind of penalized for not taking these orders.
Well, Adam, listen, you're giving us a lot of food for thought, pardon the pun, on just the situation there. And the one thing is, I would hope that they could do something about the tip baiting, especially.
Yeah, because that is definitely something that once the customer agrees to do a tip, they should not be able to take back a tip. That is, if you're not going to tip, don't tip. We get it. But I mean, if you're going to, some people do the tip baiting because they know they live far from the location and maybe not people are going to come that far for a low fare. So they'll say, you're going to you essentially might get a $15 tip. And then once they get the order, they just decide to decline the tip. And it's not to say that I haven't had good tips. There was very good tips. I've had $20 tips. I've had $15 tips, but those are few and far between.
Adam, listen, thanks a lot for joining us. And, we've seen in other jurisdictions where they've passed legislation to deal with some of the issues that you've spoken about. I wonder what will happen here. Keep us abreast. Keep in touch, Andrew. Thanks so much.
No problem. Thank you.